Everything was going great, smooth life. Everything was going hunky dory. I'll put it that way. And then the day of infamy. I don't know if this is an acceptable way of saying it, but I'll say it my way. What Japan did was stupid, and they paid. And so what happened is that they bombed Hawaii, and so it was chaos in 1941, 1942. Everybody was involved. There was nobody not involved with the way the war started and how the war went during that period of time. And so then General DeWitt made the statement, a Jap is a Jap, it makes no difference whether he's an American citizen or not. He's still a Japanese. The Japanese race is an enemy race, and while many have become Americanized, the racial strains are undiluted. Sabotage and espionage would make problems as long as he is allowed in the area. The very fact that no sabotage has taken place to date is a disturbing and confirming indication that such action will be taken. Now, we could read this in hindsight, but this is the way he talked. This is the way he persuaded Congress to get the Japanese off the West Coast. The Attorney General at that time said, I don't think it's a good idea to do what you're trying to do, but he was that persuasive, and so therefore, he was instrumental to get the people off the West Coast. In hindsight, General DeWitt, his nickname became General Nitwit. Okay? And it's in the history books that that's the way he's viewed. So we wanted to get all the Japs off the West Coast. All of you understand that Jap is a very derogatory word, as much as I do, and that Jap is equivalent to the N word, and you know what I'm talking about. So it seems like for every minority group of people, they have nicknames that are really tough. This is the 9066 executive order. Now the interesting thing is, if you see at the top, it says May the 3rd. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go through a little bit of detail here. Anybody with Japanese ancestry, all persons of Japanese, both alien and non-alien, be evacuated by 12 o'clock in May 11th. Okay, the war started on December 7th. So up to this date, what they were thinking of doing was putting everybody away. And so then in the meantime, what they got the law, executive order passed and everything. And they were building the barracks, okay? No Japanese in the area will change residence without permission. Now, what you're getting is a sense of the United States government starting to have a heavy hand in your life. I say yours because I'm asking you to identify with the Japanese tonight, if you're not Japanese. So you can't change residence without permission, and then with respect to leasing, sales, storage, real estate, everything like that, guns, boats, automobiles, and livestock. What they're saying is, we'll take care of it, okay? And you know what happens when the government takes care of things like this. Mm-hmm. Here's the interesting one. Head of household must report to Civil Control Station for further instruction. Evacuees must carry with them on departure for assembly the following. In other words, you can only take what you can carry. You can only take what you can carry. Now, at your age, what can you carry? Okay, so then I asked my mom and dad, what's going on? And their response was, I don't know. Where are we going? I don't know. How long are we going to be there? I don't know. So there was a lot of I don't knows in there, and then in hindsight, what I realized what my parents were going through is they were going through chaos. They were going through panic. And I'm just asking the simple questions, and they couldn't answer me because they didn't know for themselves. So you say, okay, take your bedding and linen, okay. So you say, well, if you were to take a 2-week camping trip, how much stuff would you have to take? And so then you say, okay, toilet articles. For men, it's simple. All they need is a bar of soap and a towel. But for women, it's a whole different story. So you got, and I don't think I'm crossing any lines or anything that's inappropriate, but you have your feminine hygiene stuff. So you say, well, how am I going to replace what I use? How much inventory can I take, should I take, or how much inventory will be available for you when you need it? And so then, I don't know if they took that into consideration, but this is where it gets ironic. It gets crazy from this point on is, okay, men take bar soap, towel, and maybe shaving stuff. But then on the other hand, where are they going to get shaving blades after they run out of their own shaving blades? Okay. Extra clothing. Okay. Where are we going? I don't know. San Bruno is not the best. They have microclimates that it gets pretty cold, damp, and that. The sun doesn't shine there all the time. It's different than San Jose. So how much clothing are you supposed to take when you say take extra clothing? Okay, extra sufficient knives, forks, spoons, plate, bowls, and cups. That's the easy one. You just take it for your family, okay? Essential personal effects. Okay, now, how much paperwork are you going to take? Are you going to take all of we're in the tax season right now. So you say, okay, do I take my history of the last 7 years of tax form and take it with me? How many pounds is that going to add to what you have to carry? Okay, so this is where you have to think things through when you start talking about personal effects. How many of you have pets? Will it be easy to separate from your cat and dog? You leave it with somebody else? The whole point is, I've heard in this part of the conversation that we've had, it's harder to separate from a spouse, maybe, or maybe it's harder to separate from a pet than a spouse. And so everybody starts chuckling because they know how much they love their pets. But you can't take it with you. So you have to leave it with somebody. Who would you leave it with? We'll provide storage for icebox, washing machine, heavy equipment. Okay, now, what's not on the list is how many of you have sterling silver sets? How many of you have nice china that you worked hard to get? And so then you say, okay, what do I do with it? Because it weighs a ton if you have to carry it wherever you go. So then there's other things like you've been saving up for this piano that you've been wanting to have. And you say to yourself, okay, now, am I forced to give the piano away? Can I have a neighbor take it and hold it until I get back? And when I tell the neighbor, I don't know when I'm coming back, but will you hold it for me? See, so all of this gets really ironic. Okay, what's going on? Must obey orders. Japanese culture.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
How long did they give you to get all ready for that?
About 3 weeks or less. It's mind-boggling if you think of it in today's terms. And then you say, okay, if you were told that you had to move out in 3 weeks, will you be able to handle that emotionally? And so then you say, whoa, wait a minute, you can't, you know, the first feeling is, you can't do that to me. It's not fair. And so then you go back to what we started with originally, is your freedom. Okay, now, you're born in the United States, therefore you're automatically a citizen. So you're a US citizen, and now you're being treated this way, what would you do? And so you can't go to your politician and say, hey, help me. Because the politician, if he tries to help you, would look like the enemy to the rest of the people. So, must not openly complain, must not embarrass. That's a very significant Japanese trait. Shikata ga nai means, so be it. This is the way it is, therefore, deal with it. And the word gaman is very significant in this whole period of time. Is be stoic, suck it up. And then the last one is no monku, which is very, very popular in the Japanese community, is no bitching. Okay, so this is just sort of a short list of just the Japanese words that you exchange all the time with other people. Okay, now this is an interesting list because there are 127,000 Japanese in the United States. On the West Coast, there are 110,000. Now, out of the 110,000, 40,000 were born in Japan, 70,000 were born in the United States. More than half, or 70,000 people are US citizens. And so then you say, this is getting sticky. Now there's Kibes that born in the US, gone to Japan for education, came back, and that's what we call Kibe. And so they're still going to be incarcerated, right? Now the interesting thing is if you're 1/16 blood, then you will be incarcerated. Now here's an interesting point. What is your first? Oh, Vicky, right? Yeah. Let's say Vicky and I are in our 20s and we, excuse me, but I'm going to borrow her. Okay. We say, okay, Vicky, I really like you, I love you, let's get married. So I go to her parents and her parents says, okay. Go to my parents and introduce Vicky. Says, okay. So we get married. Now, over a period of time, we have 2 kids. We're going to go to camp together, and we're going to take the kids. The kids have blonde hair, blue eyes. Just telling a story.
I know.
Even though your eyes are brown. And so then say, whoa, what's going on? Does she get harassed? Do the kids get harassed? And that's where the problem comes up, is the irony of the whole situation that hasn't been thought out. So then she has the ability to say, I would like to be excused out of the camp and go back to where I'm from. Okay. So now she takes the kids with her. Let's just say the kids now have black hair and brown eyes and have Japanese traits, okay? Now, do you think the kids would be harassed while they're out there? The whole thing is just crazy for she and I, as well as for the kids, whichever way they look, okay? So when it goes back to interracial marriages, which there weren't a lot of at that time, it still causes a hassle. Now, we're all lined up in San Francisco, the soldier there with a rifle, and so you see the gentlemen with their hats, coats, and ties on. The women have hats on, and I think in those days they used to wear gloves a lot too. Okay. Here's the sign. Everybody can see. The signs are all on the billboards and or telephone poles and places like that. So here's an American, a Japanese American, I'm an American, he says. But he's going to have to close his shop down and walk away. He's got inventory, accounts payable, accounts receivable, display cases, and things like that. And so this is where it gets sticky. Now, here's another one. Nichibei Busan. Okay, they used to be on, I believe, on Post Street. And they're a family friend. And there's a store on Jackson, Nichibei, right? Original owners here. And so then they had to shut down. The sign says 1 day to go. Now, can you imagine walking away from this? Put yourself into their shoes and say, okay, well, wait a minute. You can't treat me that way, but they don't have any choices, because if you choose to resist, you're going to be punished. Either go to jail or go to, just go to jail and you get put on probation and things like that. If you had a car, they got your car. What they did with the cars is they gave it away to families that needed the car, or gave it to the used car dealerships. And these cars look like jalopies at this stage of the game, but they're pretty reasonable looking cars at that time. Again, there's signs in the neighborhood. They wanted you to buy bonds and buy jobs. Here's an interesting propaganda piece. You got the guy on the top of the roof looking out, Washington, Oregon, California. All these guys are lined up to get the TNT so that then they could blow up pieces of the United States. You got the stereotypical glasses, slant-eyed, buck teeth, and whatever. And the artist of this slide, Dr. Seuss. And so if you look up Wikipedia and look up Dr. Seuss propaganda, you'll see all of the artwork that he's done against Germany and Japan. You remember what I said? You can only take what you can carry. Okay? And so then what was popular in those days is the word steamer trunks. Do you remember what the steamer trunks were? If you look at the steamer trunks right here, there's no wheels on the steamer trunks. Okay? Now we're getting loaded into buses, and now the soldier has a rifle with a bayonet on it, and they're starting to load the buses up. And here we have the Santa Anita. They have all the people lined up. And then you got all these soldiers all lined up. Is that intimidating or what? Okay, that's what they wanted to do, was put the fear of God into you so that then you just follow the orders, and then that works out fine.